Hello YouTube. It has been a long time since I've made a video, I know, and it is time for a comeback. And what game is better for a comeback than Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord? I mean, a lot has changed, a lot of time's gone by, but most notably, I am on a PC now. That's right, the PS4, while I'll still be doodling, doing stuff on that, I have just built myself a new PC, and this is going to be the not only my comeback video, but the test and the maiden voyage for my new PC. I know that it can, run this game. Of course, I've been goofing around with it like crazy, like a kid on Christmas, but now's the time to start testing the real deal and see if this is what I need to make a comeback. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and make a new campaign. I'm going to be doing this series as mostly a tutorial for those of you who have never played the game before. I'm going to try not to get too wordy with my explanations because it is going to be a long series, and I'm just going to kind of explain things as I go. So when we start up here, we're going to be able to choose our culture. Now, your culture overall doesn't matter so far as talking to people and how it relates to where you start. Everybody starts in the exact same spot. But what it does affect is your starting little skill here, your little perks. So there's a few in here that aren't particularly great. I'm looking at you, Sturgia. But the best one by far is Vlandians. If this is your first time picking up the game, or you're just looking to have an overall way better time with this game, go ahead and get that 20% more upgrade XP to troops from battles. That's going to get your level 1 troops, level them up really quick, and you're going to be running around with mounted cavalry in no time. So let's go ahead and start off with Vlandian culture. Now, make a character however you want. I always choose a female. You're usually looking at her like this, so why not? I'm going to go ahead and just go with a few things. I'm going to kind of make her look like Daenerys Stormborn. Little Game of Thrones thing. Just until we get the Game of Thrones mod in this game, which, as we know, is inevitably coming. That looks good. Wow. Blonde girl with two black-haired parents, one of them curly. I am not sure how that happened. But you know what? I'm going to let it slide. So what I really want to spec into here, now, if you want to, you can take your time and go over any one of these in your own time if you're making up your own game and just decide what you really want to do. Now, the makers of this game have made a point of saying that you can play the game however you want, and that's true. You can totally just get a small little band of people to defend you and just go all trade. Make nothing, make a bunch of money, get a lot of influence around people from just them liking you and trading to other people at good prices. You can go ahead and give that a shot if you want to, but it's not the way that I go. So the way that I'm going to go is to get most of my points up here in vigor, a good amount in endurance, and just a couple down here in social so that I can get some of this charm. Of course, there's going to be some stragglers that have to come along with your background. You just come what may, but you want to make sure that you get some in charm, because if you don't, trying to get a lord to follow you later on just isn't going to happen, because a lot of it is based on your charm skill, and if somebody doesn't like you and you're not that charming, well, guess what, they're not going to want to go on date number 2. So let's go ahead and click around here to see what we can get. We can start off as urgent merchants just to give us that initial charm that we're looking for. Or we can go with the blacksmiths to give us that boost of vigor. I almost never use two-handed weapons. Oh, they are brutal. Smithing, again, is something that almost never comes in handy. Smithing is something you can do as a side hobby. I'd say that's the most time I would advise to put into it. You can sell a lot of the weapons that you make later on for a lot of money, but by that point you'll be making so much money that it's just completely irrelevant. And yeah, it's just not worth speccing into early game. But goof around with it later on. Break stuff apart, sell the materials. Whatever you want to do. Materials can sometimes sell for more than the weapons themselves, if you really want to take the time to do that. There are so many exploits and loopholes and stuff like that. I'm not going to show you guys any of those sort of things. I'm not going to be like, oh, you want to do exactly this in this city. Like, I'm not going to do some cookie cutter build. Once we launch this game, it's going to be totally unique, and we're just going to go with the flow. So let's just go ahead and go with the urban merchants like we were thinking of doing, and just get that out of the way. Let's just not do anything down here, if we can help it again. Brawn, attention to detail is pretty good because it gives you that one-handed. Control's nice because I do kind of want to take a bow. I know I didn't say I was going to put anything in here, but it is good to have a ranged weapon at least on your hips that you can shoot from or up to the walls of a siege. Also, horseback riding is going to come naturally because you're going to ride all over the map, and that actually increases your riding when you're just riding from point A to point B on the overworld. So, gosh, look at that. We could just boost that up again. That could be our horseback riding right there and our one endurance. Medicine's not a bad third option as well. Let's just go ahead and take that and do, a little girl who likes horses. It actually seems kind of natural anyway. No, you're done with the horses. No more caring for the horses. Control, alley gangs, get the one-handed, the cunning. Roguery, I mean, gosh, it really doesn't matter. Social, I was hoping to get something more up into vigor, but I really don't care for the cunning tree very much at all. Yeah, sure. Why not? Go to the docks building sites. There's a good bow that we could start with. I haven't done anything into vigor yet at all, but well, except for that one point before. But this here, the youth, pay attention to this stage because this is what's going to determine your starting weapons and gear. You can see the saddle changes, your weapons. You got a pole arm, shields, So pay attention to that. I mean, these are my ideal starting weapons. I love sword and shield and bow, but I don't really care about getting the crossbow or the engineering and the intelligence. I really don't. So, rode with the scouts. Why don't I just go vigor, and I'll have to get some different gear later on because I mean I like having some sort of shield. But I'll be spending a lot of time up on my horse in most battles. So let's keep going and roll through. Try and get those last couple of skills here. We can get some bow skill right there. Or we can get some more vigor. Let's do that. There's your bow skill. Tactics is fine. Tactics is a good one. Gerda. Yeah, how about we name her Gerda? Sounds like a good name. No, I said that she looks kind of like Daenerys. Come on, I watched this show for how many years? If I get this, if that's wrong, you guys are gonna tear me apart. I'm gonna say it's right. So like I said, this is gonna be a tutorial thing, so I'm not really looking to put it on anything too difficult. I will enable death. I'm gonna allow my clan members to auto-allocate their skills, but I'm gonna keep things on, the default easy difficulties, because I'm doing this to just kind of show you guys stuff, not to show off. So let's go ahead and hop in here and start our journey. Finally. Sister, it's been 3 days now, blah, 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 blah. So here you get the option to either partake or skip the tutorial. I would highly recommend, if this is your first time playing Bannerlord or any Mount and Blade game, that you run around the tutorial area and do absolutely everything. Swing your sword a few times, learn how to, block and blah, 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 because it is really unique. You also want to make sure what's comfortable for you. There's 2 ways you can attack based off of the mouse direction or the movement direction, the movement keys, WASD. I use the mouse direction because that's just what it's set to default to and always has been in the old one and everything. So, do what's comfortable for you. Go through this if you've never done it before, but I'm going to go ahead and skip it so that you guys don't have to watch me just swing a wooden sword around for a little bit. So it'll even say right here, skip tutorial. Go ahead and split up right off the bat. Yeah, time is of the essence. Skippity skip skip. Alright then, let us split up and look for the little ones separately. So, I'm not going to go ahead and too deep into the story of the game because, let me tell you one thing, it's not even worth doing. That's not what you're here for. You are here to cut off limbs and crack heads and lead your men across the wastelands of your own making. So let's go ahead and leave this training grounds and get to it. So you're going to start off the game as a lonely soldier by yourself. And if you skip the tutorial, or you'll get this screen. If you go through the tutorial, this will kind of happen in a more cinematic way. You get to name your family. So we went with Daenerys, and her last name would be Targaryen, which, oh gosh, is even harder to spell. Why did I do this to myself? That looks right. That looks right, and if it's not, be mad at me. What's the closest thing to a to a dragon they have? What is that? That doesn't look like a dragon to me. None of those look like dragons. That's a serpent. I think we might have to settle with whatever that... Oh, God. I mean, I should have gone with, like, Lannister or something, because there was a really good lion. I mean, look at that. That's the Lannister banner right there. I'll just go with this derpy thing. Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I like the black and gold. That part comes through. At least I'll know my sigil. I mean, that stands out. So let's go ahead and find where we want to make our world. So let's zoom out. This map is absolutely enormous. I mean, I love how large and detailed this map is. Just really fantastic. So if you wanted to go to Vlandia, that's over here in the red. Sturgis is up here in the snow. Then you got Britannia. They're the really landlocked faction. Truly don't have anywhere to run if they, start getting surrounded by enemies. The Aserai down here in the desert. You've got the 3 Empire regions, the north, south, and western. It is anyway. I'm not a big fan of the empires. Khuzait over here, up against the walls. They got your horse archers and stuff. They are super fun. To take a bunch of horse archers around and just go riding. I think that's actually where I'm going to head. I think I'm just going to beeline over there. I have this personal pet peeve that I don't like anybody in my army who isn't of the same faction. So I pick a faction that I like and I run with it. So you kind of got to decide what kind of army you want. So if you want horse archers, you're going to go over here towards the Khuzait. If you want your cavalry, you're going to go over here. Your shot cavalry, spears, and heavily mounted knights. You got your archers and your 2-handed axes and swords in here. These is like your woodsmen. Down here, if you want to go trade or they have some decent camel units if you like camels. The Empire's all more or less infantry. They have some pretty predictable units so far as just very, very standard. They have a really standard infantry, large heater shields, and just kind of march into you. And so I think I'm gonna go with the Khuzait over here. I just like the steppe, and I also, like I said, love fighting down in the deserts. So I think it would be really cool just to go as the Khuzait and then just war our way down here with our horse archers. It's kind of what I'm doing in my solo campaign, and I think it would be fun here too. So let's just get going over there. Here we go. If you press 3 on your keyboard, you can go ahead and speed up the travel speed. Oh. Now, here's a good time to tell you what to do if you run into some people who you can't deal with early on. See, I only have myself, and they have 16 people because I'm running all the way across the map by myself without getting people to start with. But I'm going to go ahead and try and pay them off. If you hit this button here, it'll just automatically offer them what they want. Now you have plenty of money at the start. You can go ahead and give that to them. If you do 1 coin less, they won't accept it. Go ahead and give it to them, and you're good to go. They'll leave you alone. So I'm going to pay better attention and try not to run into anybody else, but now you know that you can pay off looters and it's not the end of the world. So let's go ahead and speed this up again, and I'm really going to go this way. Oh, I thought that I could just go right up the river there along the edge. I'm just gonna buy my way to where I'm going. Don't do this. If if you watch out around your surroundings, you should be able to see people coming a little bit better. I'm just rushing to try and get over there and get into. Oh gosh, see, like that. He was waiting there in ambush for somebody to come over, just like me. I'm going to go back and let this large army come across and use them to protect me. See how I pulled back there, saved my life, and since I'm on a horse, I'll be able to outrun them big time once I make it over. Where am I going? Excellent. So, dodged that one. That's what you want to do. You just kind of want to pull back and see if you can get away from them. Since you're on a horse and all looters are on foot, you'll, in general, have no trouble outrunning them. You just have to see them ahead of time. So let's get where we're going. We're going to load up on units and see where we're at from there. In the beginning of the game, you can't get that many troops. You can only get 20. That number will go up rapidly, so don't think, oh, you can only get 20 units in this game. That's not much of an army. Now, that number goes up the more you gain respect with the surrounding world. And these grayed out units are recruitable if you gain respect with the local nobles. So I'm going to go ahead and recruit everybody that I can from here. Give me 6 units and keep moving. Now you also have to feed your troops. Let me go ahead and buy some food while I'm here. I'm going to take all their grain and all their butter. And that's what we're going to feed everybody, grain and butter. Isn't that great? That's a great diet for everybody to be on. So we're going to go ahead and take that, and we're going to keep going to the surrounding villages, these smallest little places around here. They're the ones that you can recruit from easiest. You can go to larger cities like this, and they've got some units as well. Usually more units, actually. Oh, we want to avoid that. But those little cities are just much more numerous. Bam, there we go. We're up to 13 out of 20. So it shouldn't be long before we get all of them. And once you have a full 20 units, that's just, so you're protected, and then you can really just do what you want. 19 out of 20. We need one more guy to fill up our roster here. Oh, not byproducts. There we go. Excellent. So now we have 20 units. The easiest way to level up is by fighting and killing units. So we're just going to go and level up by fighting these guys. Do our first battle. Caught them. You will always eventually catch them because, like I said, you're on horseback. Even if you have a full group of people, you'll get there eventually. And they almost never surrender. I mean, every time you give them a chance, they have a chance to surrender. I've come up with like a few hundred people, and they still don't surrender. Let's go ahead and take them out. It used to be, quote me on used to be, that if you just sent your troops and didn't go in yourself, your units would never die. Looters were just incapable of killing units, and so it was just a way to farm experience. Tried it recently. Apparently they patched it. No longer the case. So we're going to go ahead and attack. Early on, you're going to get your little tutorial on the right-hand side since we skipped it. Early on, there's no point to doing any sort of formations or strategies. You're way better off just telling everybody to charge. So to charge and do movement commands, you're going to want to press F1, and after that you can tell them anything that it says there on the panel that popped up on the right. So we're just going to tell them to charge, and that's going to be F3. I'm going to tell them that before everybody gets here so that we aren't caught off guard. Let's see if we can't get a kill ourselves in here, but I want to get as many of the kills. I want all of the kills, if I can, to be my men so that they level up. Oh yeah, run. You can run, not very fast. I'm way better just swinging at the dome piece. So go ahead and take out your first groups of looters, and you'll see everybody gets a good level up. You will technically have one before they're all dead. When they start retreating, you will have technically one, but you want to make sure you run them all down. It'll get you and your men extra experience for running them down and killing or knocking them out. So press tab to go ahead and get to the post-battle screen. And look at that, we get some renown. We're starting to make a name for ourselves, and we get morale up of all of our men. And you can see here, we leveled up 8 men, and no one was killed or injured, whereas they had a rough time of it. So we're going to go ahead and hit done and see the spoils of war. We're going to take the 3 people who were knocked out prisoner and level up half of our men. It would be great to go straight to these mounted units here. That's what's great about the Khuzait, is that the Khuzait people can go straight onto horses, but only if you actually have horses, and we'll come to that later. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and get some footmen to mix into the group. And I'm going to go ahead and hit done. You have to pay for those upgrades, so make sure you have enough, which you should from killing all those guys. And then you can get all of their stuff. Now make sure before you just take everything that you go over all of the skills to see if you can get anything better than what you start with, like this. And this. And that should do it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rest. You can go ahead and just take this button up here. It says take all. Now, you saw earlier I ticked these things. That means that they are locked. So if I go to a trader, I can hit give all and trade everything, but anything that I have ticked, like my food, eventually my horses and stuff that I want to hang on to. If you're doing smithing, or smithing supplies especially, so many times when I was doing smithing, I just sold them. You want to make sure you tick your stuff in the menu before you go ahead and hit done. I know sometimes you're like, oh, I forgot, I'll come to it later. No, just do it when you're looting. And we're going to hit done. So we are finished, and we've killed our first units. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, just so I can segment them and make it easier to go to the next. When we come back, I'm going to start going to some of these main cities and start doing tournaments to try and make some money, make a name for ourselves, and also you can get some high tier gear from doing tournaments. So that'll be our next video. But that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that it comes out okay. This is again a test video on the new computer. So yeah, it's good to be back on YouTube, good to be making videos, and we'll see how this all goes. I'll see you later in the series.